Yo, Cover One crew, what is going on? Chris Chow's back again for Cover One Fantasy Football. Hope everybody's doing awesome. I'm doing fantastic as per usual. And you know what? Before we get started, do me a favor, smash that like button, man. Let's set a like goal for this video. Let's just say a small one. 25 likes. I know you guys can do it. Helps us grow the channel that much more. Jump in those comments if you have any start-sit questions. I will definitely try to answer as many as I possibly can if you're in there. But nevertheless, man, must start and sit for week number 2. We got you guys started on the right note on Thursday Night Football, not only on start sit, but point spread picks. You got to love it. So let's waste no time and dive into the good stuff of week 2 start sit fantasy football. So the best part about games played is the fact that we're starting to get some statistics to add to our analytics system, which we love, which helps us back our opinion-based strategies, and I love it. Let's go, man. Atlanta Falcons, number 1, going up against the LA Rams in LA. You got to love this contest for the Rams because they're looking to get right in a big way after the Buffalo Bills absolutely trounced them on Thursday Night Football on the opening kickoff game. But Marcus Mariota, what did I tell y'all last week? If you're looking for streaming quarterbacks for majority of the season, you're going to be doing very well with a Marcus Mariota, likely 55-60% of the time because he does possess good rushing upside that you like. Almost 20 points last week. Yes, a lot of it came at the end of the game. Fine, no worries. In this contest, you're going to see highly likely a lot of garbage time production coming from these Atlanta Falcons because the Rams are going to be looking for blood. Marcus Mariota is a mid-risk level play for me this week. Cordero Patterson, he's got very high upside this week, and he's definitely a plug-in start. No question, even up against a tough matchup versus the LA Rams, because what do we always argue? Volume is key, man. Pat the volume, pat the targets. In this contest, this is one of these situations where you got to abide by the rule because now you don't have Damian Williams. He is out of this contest. Tyler Algier, the rookie, he may find his way onto the field with sprinkles of touches, but I think they're going to force feed Cordero Patterson a lot in this game, and he is a grown man. He's able to truck people, no kidding, and try to get in that end zone. Potential even for garbage time touchdown appeal is definitely here for Cordero Patterson. Drake London, man, he had a decent contest coming off that knee problem he had in the preseason. Almost got him 10 points, almost got his hit rate up to 1, did not manage off by 0.1. I mean, it's unfortunate, but he looked good. He looked really good. He may see a lot of Jalen Ramsey in this contest. If not, Jalen Ramsey might go and shadow a little Kyle Pitts. So this is going to be interesting because we know that he doesn't shadow much. He kind of is all over the field. So we'll see how the coaching staff does mix and match these pass catchers on the line. Drake London for me right now is a mid-level risk play this week. I mean, so temper your expectations. If you have better options, I might look in that direction. Bryan Edwards and Zacchaeus, definitely high-risk plays this week, even though Zacchaeus likely will get you some more PPR upside if you had to play him. I highly doubt you do, but he's got some high-level risk. Kyle Pitts is the low-risk option. I had to remove the stud start because he absolutely made us pay last week. 2.9 points in half PPR. You killed me, Kyle. I don't know what you're doing, man, but Pitts, you got to get your game going, man. Got to get your game ready. Marcus, start looking in this man's direction because he is the best player on this offense at the moment, and you got to force feed this man the ball. I'm hoping for touchdown upside this week. He is a low-risk play even against a very tough Los Angeles Rams defense. Those Arizona Cardinals are next up against the Las Vegas Raiders, and I mean, here we go. Arizona looked horrible last week. Absolutely stinkfest. Cliff Kingsbury, your seat must be red hot, man. Roasting hot. Because I'm telling y'all, if this season gets out of hand and you guys start 0-2, the conversations are going to start, man, that midway point of the season. If you can't fix this, you're going to be fired likely midway point, Cliff. I'm telling y'all, I didn't like what I saw whatsoever. Kyler Murray and James Conner, both the stud starts for me this week. Nevertheless, even as bad as those Cardinals did look on the field, fantasy points are what we care about here. 20 points for Kyler, 14 for James Conner last week, and I'm okay with it, man. Both these individuals will still move the ball. They're going to move this offense as much as they possibly can. No Rondale, no Andy Isabella in this contest, so you do got some Marquise Hollywood, man. 12.3 points. Decent showing. You can't hate that whatsoever. He did hit on that week 1, and you had to expect it to happen. Hopefully, they're going to try a little bit more of the deep shots against this Raiders team who was susceptible last week to a lot of passes, so we will see how that goes. Eno Benjamin Benjamin, on the side note, if you do have room on your roster at this point, I would say stash him at this point because there might be a potential. We know James Conner does frequent that medical room quite often. So Eno Benjamin, I mean, 7.6 points is not something you can sneeze at for a guy who wasn't pegged to see a lot of carries and touches in this offense, but he could be one of these guys who is a very safe handcuff if you do have space on your roster. AJ Green, we cannot trust at this point. High risk play if you are even thinking about it. Totally doubt you are. I'm keeping AJ Green on my bench. 2.3 points just ain't going to cut it. Greg Dortch, man, he comes from, I believe, the 49ers, and he found himself a little bit of a role on this Cliff Kingsbury offense, but I mean, it looked like Kyler was continuously going to his direction because lesser coverage was there. I did not like this offensive game plan whatsoever for the Arizona Cardinals. Garbage time production definitely inflated a lot of these statistics for all these Cardinals on this offense, so we could see a similar, stat line again, even if they are losing, but I do believe it's going to be a little bit more competitive this week. Cliff should have these guys ready to go. Zach Ertz gets you a touchdown to save your fantasy day, 10.4. I'm going to still pick him up as a low-risk option. I think I'm going to play him this week versus the Raiders, man. Baltimore Ravens going up against the Finns, the Miami Dolphins, and Lamar Jackson, again, stud start play. He looked good. Started a little bit sluggish. The run game wasn't going. The play-action pass wasn't there, but then he started finding his wide receivers going deep, man. He found himself Devin Duvernay and Rashad Bateman with good regularity. I really liked how they opened up the game in the second half. Lamar Jackson looks legit as always. He finally is getting that deep ball down to his wide receivers. No more Hollywood Brown, so Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay can both definitely stretch the field. I was a big fan of Devin Duvernay coming out of college, out of Texas, and I think he is a player in this offense finally that they're going to be able to trust. Lesser coverage coming his way, and he proved it right, man. Almost 20 points, half PPR for y'all. He caught himself a couple touchdowns. He looked very good. Rashad Bateman looked also very good. Both of these wide receivers at this point are mid-level risk plays for me going up against Miami's very good secondary, so you can't, take that away from Miami because they are very good. So we will see. It's in Baltimore, so we will see how Lamar Jackson does dissect the field. We talk about J.K. Dobbins. Everybody's talking about it. He likely is going to suit up this week, but how many reps is he going to take, man? He looks a lot better. He looks like he's moving laterally very, very well. But for me in this week, I got to say he's a high risk because we just don't know what the volume's going to be. Is he going to see 5 to 10 touches this week and then kind of, be nursed along? Like, that's kind of how we feel JK is going to go for at least the first 4 weeks. As long as he plays a contest and he has no setback, after that, after week 4, now we can have the conversation about what J.K. Dobbins is potentially going to be. But for me, out of Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, I'm comfortable playing him this week. If you have the option to play him in your flex, I'm totally okay with that. Mark Andrews, stud start every single week. You can't say otherwise. 7.7. Didn't necessarily get it done, but no tight end really hit you outside of maybe top 5 tight ends that got over 10 points last week. It was a very tough situation for most tight ends that you did play. Isaiah Likely, the rookie, did not see any kind of, fantasy productivity. He's still very much a high risk. James Prochet is doubtful with the groin, so Devin Duvernay, fire him up once again. I am comfortable with that respect, no doubt, man. Buffalo Bills going up against the Tennessee Titans on Monday Night Football, and I mean it's the first game before the doubleheader. I don't know why the NFL put a doubleheader on this week number 2. It's crazy. I'm okay, man. More football. Bring it on, man. Josh Allen, stud start. Man, this guy is going to be MVP category all season long. 33 points last week. He was absolutely glorious. Stiff-arming people like he's King Henry, and now he's going up against King Henry this week. So the running back room here for the Bills is the interesting aspect. Devin Singletary, James Cook, and Zach Moss. What do we do with this backfield? So, James Cook fumbled the ball in the contest, basically never saw the field again. Rookie mistake, we understand. Little bit of the jitters. I think he's got it out of his system. But at this point, with Zach Moss and James Cook, until we understand who's going to start taking more of the lead role, both are very much high-risk plays for fantasy football right now. Devin Singletary looked better, looked tougher. He was running over people, and he wants to stay on the field. So maybe the competition in this running back room is starting to, amplify where he sits right now. And Devin Singletary is a decent play this week because the Titans just, were, exposed by Saquon Barkley, last week, and we know Devin Singletary is not Saquon, but I mean, we could possibly see 10 points if you're stuck for running back this week, man. Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, stud start, low risk plays for me because, doesn't matter who you play. Even Isaiah McKenzie's in the mix, and Josh Allen is going to spread the ball all over the field. Stephon Diggs looked fabulous. Gabe Davis looked great. And Isaiah McKenzie sprinkled in a little bit too. So it came at the expense of a Dawson Knox who only got you 1 point. So this is the contest. I'm putting Dawson as a mid-level risk because I do think he's involved just a little bit more to do that mismatch appeal, to, be in the game plan where they confused Tennessee from what they did on opening day. So for me, the Buffalo Bills offense is very much safe in most regards. You can, and especially in the pass catching options with Diggs, Davis, McKenzie, and Knox, you can probably be feeling pretty comfortable starting each one of them every single week. But Diggs and Gabe Davis are obviously the 1-2s that you want to go with this week. Carolina going up against those New York Giants. And Baker Mayfield, he looked good. He looked, better than I thought he would. There was some mistakes early on, and then he kind of, found his rhythm, found his groove, almost got you 20 points. That's a good day for a Baker Mayfield. Mid-risk level play for me against the New York Giants defense. That it has holes as well. Ryan Tannehill was able to move the ball quite efficiently. They were dumping a lot off, Tennessee was, against the Giants to the running back Hilliard. So maybe we see a little bit more to Christian McCaffrey in this contest, and that could inflate Baker Mayfield's stats. So mid-level risk for me. McCaffrey, obviously plug and play every single week. DJ Moore, he is a mid-level risk for me. I did not expect this. I really thought he was going to take a lot more PPR upside from that first contest. Did not really happen. We actually saw the reverse in that Robbie Anderson was getting a lot of, looks his way, going deep from Baker Mayfield, which isn't necessarily the best part of his game, but it was there, man. They allowed it to happen. And the Browns allowed it to happen, and Robbie Anderson was able to get free on a number of occasions. Almost got you 19 points, where DJ Moore suffered at 6.5. So again, I want to see how this offense is going to morph with a Baker Mayfield, how Matt Rule is going to continue to push this offense. No injuries to speak of here. Ian Thomas and Terrace Marshall, no fantasy value right now to speak of. And DJ Moore, if you're saying, can we start DJ Moore this week? I think you have to, and I think you're forced to based on where you drafted him, obviously. But temper the expectations until we understand how this offense is going to morph. Robbie Anderson does have high upside again, based on how they were utilizing the deep shot. I do like that a lot. Chicago, man, they surprised the San Francisco 49ers, and they pull out the victory in ugly fashion in wet weather in Chicago. This time they're going up against those Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. Justin Fields, mid-level risk. So for me, this entire offense right now is going to have a lot of risk factors to it. Justin Fields, Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, and Darnell Mooney all get the mid-level risk for me this week against Green Bay, whose defense and secondary is still very good. They just faced JJ, man. Justin Jefferson will beat anybody in a phone booth, so you can't really, take that as the standard of what Green Bay's defense is going to be, especially with Chicago's offensive line troubles. They played very well. They adjusted extremely well against the 49ers and were able to capitalize on plays as they were going through it. But nevertheless, David Montgomery, he was supplanted by Khalil Herbert in that contest. Khalil got over 10 points. So I think we might see a little bit of a mix and match as this season does go on, where the Bears offense is going to be riding the hot hand from the running back position. We will see how this goes on a week-to-week basis, but this does put a hamper in David Montgomery shares for me at this point. Yes, it is only week one, so we're not going to go, in panic mode just yet hitting the button. But Khalil Herbert is that guy I told y'all last week you definitely had to keep your eye on, because he is a dog and he is a great player. Darnell Mooney, man, this is the problem. So either he's going to take all the targets, and I'll backtrack a little bit. This is why volume and target, path to volume, path to target argument can also be debunked very easily, because on a bad team who isn't necessarily put together, the only number one wide receiver they have is Darnell Mooney, right? So he's going to see the extent of DB1s covering him on a weekly basis, potential even for double coverage for other defenses to say, you have other guys that aren't as good. We will trust that we can cover Darnell Mooney and let the other guys beat us. That's exactly what Chicago did, man. They went away from Darnell Mooney. They went to Pettis. They went to Equanimeous. I always mess up his name, so that's why I did that. St. Brown, man. They went to St. Brown. And this is what they did. They found levels of opportunity, 11.6 and 8.3 for St. Brown and for Pettis. So there you go. That's where the offensive productivity came from as the game wore on from Justin Fields. Cole Kmet disappointed everybody. I wasn't necessarily on the Cole Kmet bandwagon coming into the season because of how this offense is, but I do expect a lot more targets to go his way in this contest. They got to get him more involved. He is a big body mismatch, and I do believe if they do get anywhere near that red zone, Cole Kmet will at least see his target share increase in that department. 0 should not be on the board. Goose eggs should not be on the board for Cole Kmet this week against the Green Bay Packers. Should be a very good showing in that respect. Cincinnati Bengals, man, up against those Dallas Cowboys. Both lost in supreme fashion. One for the Cowboys. We'll get into their problems later. But the Bengals, Joe Burrow looked horrific in this first week contest, and I figured as much because he's coming off of the appendix surgery. There was going to be rust. His reads just weren't there, but he was able to climb back and showed that heart that he does have. So for me this week, going up against the Dallas Cowboys, who are without Dak Prescott, who will likely turn the ball over a lot, giving Joe Burrow and company a lot more opportunities. Joe Burrow's a stud start this week, man. I had him as a low risk last week because of the appendix. This week, to me, I think he's a stud start. I think he finds his way back in supreme fashion. 22 points might be his floor this week against the Cowboys, who are in a heap of trouble. Joe Mixon showed us exactly why you needed to pick him in the top 5, top 6 running backs this year because of what his production is going to be in this offense. When Joe Burrow was failing, Joe Mixon was picking up where he left off. He is a stud start for me this week against the Cowboys defense that will likely be gassed by the mid third quarter, I want to say, and then you're going to see Joe Mixon continue to eat and feast. Ja'Marr Chase, man, he is a stud start week in, week out. This guy is absolutely phenomenal. The catches he was making on the field, the one-handed toe tap, I think that was so close it could have been a touchdown. His stats could have been even more inflated if those did count, but the refs were not on his side. T. Higgins right now is questionable, dealing with a concussion. I believe he is escaping a concussion protocol as we speak, but I mean, he is definitely one to watch. If he is going to suit up, he is a mid-level risk for me. 3.7 didn't get it cut, or did not cut it, I should say, but that's because he left because of the head injury. But nevertheless, if he does play, I do believe you got to start him, obviously. Tyler Boyd is the high upside play if Higgins cannot go. That is where we're going with this one. If Higgins is going to play, I may want to say, hedge your bets somewhere else and look away from Tyler Boyd. 11.3 in his absence, in Higgins' absence, Boyd looked very good. Hayden Hurst was that guy that I'm telling you all about every single week. He is no longer sleeper upside. It's mid-level risk for me. 7.1 points for Hayden Hurst in an offense that loves to throw the ball. I love it all day long for Hayden Hurst if you're looking for streaming tight ends like I do basically on the weekly. Cleveland Browns going up against the New York Jets, and the Browns managed to find a way to beat Baker Mayfield, and now they're going to be hosting those New York Jets. Jacoby Brissett, he looked, like we thought he would. The game manager role, he's not going to explode for a lot of fantasy points, so he is a major high risk, 10 points, but he gets you the win. That's what Jacoby Brissett is going to be doing. He's going to be good for the Cleveland Browns. He's just not going to be good for your fantasy team, and this inhibits poor play for the rest of the players on this squad outside of Kareem Hunt, apparently, but we knew this. This was the mantra that I was saying and spitting out to everybody, okay? He's going to check down a lot. He's going to look for the safe options. The tight end position isn't necessarily your best option on this Cleveland Browns roster with David Njoku with inconsistencies, so it's going to be Kareem Hunt. It's going to be now Anthony Schwartz. We saw a great dose of Anthony Schwartz going short routes to make Jacoby Brissett that much more comfortable. So for me, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, definitely low-risk start plays, both of them. We have made this argument for years that both can coexist in this offense and feast. And look, man, Chubb 14.8 and Hunt 21 points last week. You got to love it. Amari Cooper, this was my fear with Jacoby Brissett. With Deshaun Watson, completely different story. We'll have that conversation around, week 11 when Deshaun comes back. But I mean, with Jacoby Brissett, Amari Cooper is going to be very much inconsistent and hit and miss every single week, and it's going to be very hard to trust. I'm still putting him as a mid-level risk because he just needs to get the ball in his hands and he can make a play himself. Can we trust Jacoby to get him the ball? That's the question. Donovan Peoples-Jones, he's got sleeper upside this week against the Jets because I do believe we're going to see a lot of Sauce Gardner going up against Amari Cooper. So we'll see how this transpires. If you're looking for high upside DFS plays, Donovan Peoples-Jones might be that guy. Schwartz, high risk. David Njoku is on an injury list as an undisclosed injury, so definitely watch out for that before kickoff if you were thinking of starting his services. But Schwartz, I mean, he didn't get you fantasy viability and play and points, but he definitely is on the radar now because he was seeing a lot of targets come from this offense. Those Dallas Cowboys, let's talk about these guys going up against the Bengals like we mentioned. No Dak Prescott. He breaks his thumb. He is out for 6 to 8 weeks. Dallas Cowboy fans and any fantasy owners of Dallas Cowboy players, I apologize for you right now because your season is basically going to be a dump fire if you have a lot of Dallas Cowboy players, man. Cooper Rush, obviously the high-risk play. You're never going to play Cooper Rush unless he turns into Tony Romo somehow, and I don't foresee that happening. Zeke Elliott, this is the problem for me that I was out on the Zeke Elliott bandwagon. I believe he's still a functional running back in this league, but he needs the opportunity. Without a guy like Dak Prescott, everybody knows they can stack the box and they can stuff Zeke Elliott. So what do we see for production? 5.4 and 3.2 from the running back position from Zeke and Pollard. This is not going to cut it, and this is not going to do you wonders in fantasy football. So if you're sticking with Zeke this week, I got to caution against it, man. I got a high-risk play for him. If he does break out, fantastic. Then let him break out on the bench so that we can feel a little bit more comfortable starting him the following week. If you have better options, I really am saying I do not like starting Zeke Elliott this week whatsoever. If I am going to play a running back from the Cowboys, it's going to be Tony Pollard because we may see a lot of checkdowns. They may want to try some explosive playability. Maybe Tony Pollard is the better play this week. If I'm wrong on Zeke, that's totally fine, but I really don't like the play, and I'm definitely staying away because I think the Bengals are going to definitely take it to him and stack that box all day long. CeeDee Lamb, okay, he got cussed out by his owner, and I don't like the look whatsoever. Yes, he struggled. He had some drops. Passes were thrown behind him. He wasn't getting a lot of separation. And I get it, okay? The ownership is going to call out their number one wide receiver now. CeeDee Lamb without Dak Prescott is going to be a headache to play every single week. You drafted him, you got to play him, but definitely temper those expectations. If you have other options, I would even consider sitting CeeDee Lamb this week until we understand how this offense is going to go with Cooper Rush, because I don't foresee a lot of good coming from the Dallas Cowboys, especially from Cincinnati, but we could see a lot of garbage time again if Joe Burrow and company do light up the scoreboard. Noah Brown, Jalen Tolbert, they do round out your wide receivers. Not much you can trust here as well for secondary options. And Dalton Schultz, low-risk option because Cooper Rush will be looking to dump off for the safe option with Dalton Schultz, so maybe he gets above that 10-point threshold this week, and especially because you drafted him early, you're going to have to play him. Dallas, I feel your pain because it's going to be ugly for the next few weeks, and then some, because until Dak returns, it's just going to be ugly. The Denver Broncos, let's ride, but it was more like let's die on Monday Night Football. How the hell did you drop that contest to the Seattle Seahawks, man? Everybody lost money, including myself, on the point spread because of y'all. Russell Wilson, we saw the tape, man. Tyler Lockett was calling out your signals on the field. What are you doing? Switch that up, especially playing up against your Seattle Seahawks. They knew everything you were doing before you were. Russ, I fully expect you to bounce back this week. Stud start for me against Houston, who is a weaker opponent overall. Week 1 against the Colts, man, you know what? I'll blame the Colts for that. But Denver Broncos at home to Houston. You got to think that Russ is going to be fired up for this one. Stud start for him and Javonte Williams, definitely in your roster. They will feast on this weak, porous Houston defense, except for Stingley, the rookie defensive back. Watch this kid, man. He is a baller in the making, a definite stud in the making. He will make life difficult for either Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton. No kidding about that, man. Melvin Gordon, mid-level risk. He did get some touches, just didn't equate to anything over substantial, but he will continue to see at least a 40% split in this backfield, I should say, where Javonte is looking like he's taking a lot of PPR upside, which is very, very good. Cortland Sutton, man, low risk play this week, 9.2. There were opportunities. It just looked like him and Russ just weren't on the same page. This is chemistry building that will continue to happen, so I am not concerned with this offense just yet. But I mean, that first week definitely, raised some eyebrows to say, what the hell are you guys doing? Jerry Jeudy looked very good. High upside play here this week. I think, again, 18.2. If it wasn't for that long touchdown catch, yes, his day would have been regrettable as well, but the entire Broncos offense did not look sharp, but I do believe against a weaker defense, they will pick it together. Cleveland is the other wide receiver now that KJ Hamler is out with an injury. That is not a play that I'm going to consider whatsoever. And Albert, they did mix it up with another tight end they have on the roster, so that one is a little bit harder to trust, mid-level risk. But again, Houston isn't this good, and I totally expect the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson to exploit all their inadequacy. So there's my starts for those Denver Broncos. The Detroit Lions, man, they shocked everybody. Look at all these points they put up on the board for y'all. Jared Goff, 16+. DeAndre Swift went bananas, man, 25 points. Jamal Williams was the TD vulture, man. Stop vulturing TDs, Jamal. Can't stand this, man. Amon-Ra hit. DJ Chark hit. Like I said last week, sleeper upside for me. He hit for you. And then the only one that suffered again was TJ Hawkinson. So, I mean, it is what it is. there's only so many balls to go around, but they did feed a lot of the top talent on this offense. Jared Goff, this was my point on him. Is he going to be a fantasy darling anymore? Likely not. Can he support an offense with a lot of playmakers? 110%. And this is what we saw in Detroit. And that was what I was harping on the entire offseason. If you saw my work, is that Jared Goff can definitely support this offense with all the weapons that they do possess. DeAndre Swift is dealing with an ankle injury. So this is my question why I got him as a mid-level risk right now. Otherwise, he would be a stud start once again for me. It's only how bad is that ankle? They're playing it off like it was enough for him to miss a lot of time in practice. Maybe they were managing his reps, but they put it down as an ankle. This still does worry me. So now, as we saw, Jamal Williams vulturing those TDs, vulturing carries away when DeAndre Swift could actually exploit that and score touchdowns as well. Maybe we see a little bit more Jamal Williams in this contest versus the Washington Commanders. And I won't be surprised whatsoever if that ankle is not right. We could see a lot more Jamal Williams. That's why I got Jamal at high upside, DeAndre Swift at mid-level risk right now. But you definitely are going to be plugging Swift in if he is starting. You got to play your studs every time you got to play him. Amon-Ra looked extremely solid, man. PPR upside up the wazoo, and it's just going to continue, man. Amon-Ra is that safety blanket every single week, a.k.a. what Robert Woods, Bobby Trees was in L.A. with Jared Goff. This is exactly what Amon-Ra is going to be. DJ Chark does possess a lot of that high upside appeal that I do like this week. A little bit more of a mid-level risk versus this Washington defense, but he is the field stretcher right now. He does have the ability, in contested catch ability. He proved it again, man. He could be. DJ Chark could literally be one of the best secondary wide receivers in the NFL today. It's not a bold statement whatsoever. Injuries. He needed an opportunity, and injuries completely foiled him. He is a good wide receiver, and I think it's a great fit in Detroit. Wait till they get Jameson Williams back. Good Lord, they got weapons. TJ Hawkinson, I'm back on the, mid-level risk with this guy until he proves something to me. He has been so out of the fantasy football realm. It's disgusting, man. One big game, he's gone for 5. One big game, he's gone for 3. Like, this is what we see from TJ. I just can't stomach it anymore. He's got a mid-level risk. If you're looking for other options at tight end, I do not blame you, because I would definitely consider sitting this man this week as well. Those Green Bay Packers, the Cheeseheads, on Sunday Night Football, going to get up against the Chicago Bears. And this offense, okay, what do we talk about this offense for a little bit? And Aaron Rodgers, you got to feel for him. I get it, okay? He threw a deep shot to Christian Watson, dropped it. That would have inflated a lot of numbers, changed the whole dynamic of how that game went. Did not happen, okay? Aaron Rodgers, regrettable day, 4.7. He should have a big bounce back against the Bears in prime time. There's no way he's going to put up a stinker in prime time. I'm definitely putting Aaron Rodgers as that low-risk option to play this week, because I think he's going to have a big bounce back, and they're going to continue to utilize this backfield with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon took away all the thunder from Aaron Jones, 17.6 to 9.1, but it is what it is, man. This backfield will be rotational, will be, you want to say 60-40 split in favor of an Aaron Jones, but A.J. Dillon's going to get all the goal line opportunities, which will always inflate his numbers. So out of these wide receivers now, we got Allen Lazard looking questionable to return, likely to return as we're seeing right now off that ankle injury, and Robert Tonyan. So here's where I'm going with this offense, because we know how upset Aaron Rodgers gets with rookie wide receivers that do not catch the ball, do not run the right routes. Where the heck is Amari Rodgers? He does not favor this man at all, because he's just not on the same page. Allen Lazard and Robert Tonyan do possess the greatest level of chemistry for Aaron Rodgers in this offense. So if Allen Lazard is healthy, Robert Tonyan looked good even on very small sample size of snap play. Robert Tonyan looked healthy. Allen Lazard gets healthy. Those are going to be your 1-2 punches in this offense, highly likely. I do like me some Robert Tonyan. If you have him on the waiver wire, go and scoop him up if you need a tight end to play this week, because I think Tonyan actually eats this week in his second game back from the ACL injury. He looked good. He looked sharp, and Aaron Rodgers is definitely going to need somebody to trust this week. If Lazard plays, I'm only putting him as a sleeper upside, because we got to see how healthy he is before we can say anything outside of that. Romeo Doubs, man, he was the only consistent rookie, but still, there's a long way to go for him to be fantasy viable. Those Houston Texans going up against the Denver Broncos in Mile High. And I got risk levels all over this roster, man. High risk for Mills, Pierce, Nico Collins, and Chris Moore. You just can't trust it. The Denver Broncos defense is still very good at rushing the passer. Mills is a fine quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. And all y'all that were on the Dameon Pierce bandwagon, look what I told y'all, 4.4 points. This is how your season is going to go. Vision was not there for Dameon Pierce. Preseason's a different story, man. Now you got grown-ass men, playing defense against this offensive line that isn't necessarily stout overall. But Dameon Pierce is going to struggle. This is kind of what you're going to see. Unless he finds the end zone, he's going to hover around the 8 to 9 points weekly because you just don't have the breakaway wheels. Are they going to utilize him in the pass game? Rex Burkhead saw a lot of work. So, this is the problem you're going to see in this backfield. Yes, we saw Lovie Smith talk it up, say that he wants to get Dameon Pierce a lot more touches. Fine. I'll believe it when I see it. Until then, I'm putting him as a high risk because I cannot trust it. Brandon Cooks, he gets a mid-level risk this week because he's probably going up against Patrick Surtain, and I do not like it, even though Brandon Cooks is very good. It can make plays by himself. O.J. Howard is the talk of the town in Houston right now because he catches 2 touchdowns, gets 16.8 after being cut from the Buffalo Bills and not wanted on this roster. All of a sudden, he found the elixir in the Houston Texans offense, and he looks like he could be a viable option. It's high upside right now for me. You put a little bit of risk for that because is it going to be consistent, or was it just a flash in the pan, new guy on the team, and just try to find him and feed him the ball because nobody game planned against it? That's kind of how I'm feeling about it at this point. But if he does continue this play, he does have some high upside appeal for you with a potential of red zone opportunity for Houston. Garbage time appeal definitely exists in this contest for the Houston Texans. Indianapolis, man, you guys put up a stinker, and I do not like it whatsoever. How could you play the way you played? You got Matt Ryan, you got Jonathan Taylor. Come on, man. I did not like what I saw overall from the field of play. When it came to fantasy football, Matt Ryan did more than enough for you to support Michael Pittman like we wanted to see. He's the guy you're playing outside of Jonathan Taylor. They are going to be the 1-2 fixtures in this offense the entire season, and it came at a cost because Michael Pittman is questionable with a quad injury, likely to suit up, but definitely watch that on Sunday on the injury report to see if it comes out. Alec Pierce is out of this contest. He will not play. So now who's going to be the secondary option? Could we see a lot more Nyheim Hines? I got him at mid-level risk. Could we see Paris Campbell? I am again putting him at sleeper alert because he just needs the opportunities. Didn't get enough. 5.2 is definitely not enough points for Paris Campbell to be viable, but I do believe that there is an option here. Ashton Dulin is one of these guys. He is very high risk, but I could also put high-risk sleeper appeal on this man as well. He does have a lot of ability. He can stretch the field. He is good at contested catches, so we will see how this Colts offense does move. Mo Alie-Cox, again, Mo Cox, no problems because 3.6 is a problem, man. And I don't know if Matt Ryan is definitely going to be, utilizing this tight end position because it didn't really look like it. They sprinkled a little Mo Alie-Cox with a Kylan Granson, and they're going to continue to do that like they did with Jack Doyle and company. But Matt Ryan definitely, he looks, ugly. I can't sugarcoat it. I'm trying to be supportive of you, Matt Ryan, but I know you've lost a step, but this offense is good enough for you to at least throw the ball better than what you did. Lean on Jonathan Taylor a little bit more like your stud that he is. 25 points, man. Jonathan Taylor, JT, is just a beast, and they should take it to those Jacksonville Jaguars defense, who does have a lot of holes in their respect as well, but they are improving. Speaking of those Jaguars going up against the Colts, Trevor Lawrence, he's got good upside this week. I liked what I saw last week. He fought, he battled. He looked good, not great. He had improvements. He had bad throws, but he still does have a lot of work to do, especially for the first overall pick in the NFL draft. This is a concern because you would expect progression to be at least finding its way a little bit quicker now. So I want to put, the threshold around week 8 before I make my judgment on what I feel a Trevor Lawrence is going to be at this point. But I do believe in this contest versus the Colts, who are without Leonard, who could potentially be without DeForest Buckner. I got some good upside here, man, because he was able to find his wide receivers with high regularity, except for my guy, Travis Etienne. You guys are teammates from Clemson. How do you miss this guy so far in the end zone? That was a touchdown, and then Etienne dropped the one. So we missed, 12 points from Travis Etienne. That would have made that stat line look absolutely gorgeous. So do not fade Travis Etienne just yet, man. Trust the process and wait and see how it comes. 7.5 is not a terrible stat line for a first game back for Travis Etienne after missing his entire rookie year with the Liz Frank. He dropped, there was 2 missed plays, a dropped and an overthrow. He could have had 12 more points for you. So just be patient. James Robinson, Robinson, he looked very good coming off the Achilles injury. Surprise, surprise, some running backs do come back from an Achilles and have good upside. I'm marking him as good upside this week because he was the steady running back. He was the steady play for Coach Doug Peterson, and he was trusting him. So if they get this running game going, it's going to only help Trevor Lawrence that much more. He just got to get on the same page with his guy Travis Etienne, and I think that's going to do very, very well in this offense. Christian Kirk, Marvin Jones, Zay Jones. I got Christian Kirk as a low risk, and I got to admit, okay, I'm going to admit right now, I was too low on Christian Kirk, as we see from week one. He looked good. He looked very good in this offense, and Trevor Lawrence was finding him on the regular. Do I believe Christian Kirk is a wide receiver one in this league? No, I do not, and I still am going to preach that. Now that you got the aggregate of 3 wide receivers now, it's very difficult to, focus coverage just on one player like Christian Kirk. So, but for me, 14.7 points is definitely good enough to keep him at a low-risk option for you to play him this week again against the Colts defense. Like I said, who is missing talent. We could see Trevor Lawrence, force feed the ball to Christian Kirk in hopes to make more plays. Zay Jones is that guy. He's going to be a PPR safe guy. 9.5, you can't hate it, man. If it's full PPR, he's over 10, and you're smiling a little bit, so it's okay in that respect. Evan Ingram gets a mid-level risk for me because the Colts are very bad right now covering the linebacker or the tight end position without their linebacker. So, I mean, I'm telling y'all, Evan Ingram, if he can, find ways to get open, he could definitely find the end zone on a high-risk play, but I'm putting him as mid-level risk as we sit today. The Jaguars, they're improving, but I want to see a lot more out of Trevor Lawrence to feel all warm and toasty, man. The Los Angeles Rams, like I said, going up against the Atlanta Falcons, and they need a get-right game. This is the get-right game you needed right away after being trounced by the Buffalo Bills. Matthew Stafford looked horrible. Cam Akers looked, he was invisible. You didn't even see him on the field. I mean, Cooper Kupp was basically your only bright spot in that contest in week one. He's going to be, again, stud start for him. I'm going to put a low-risk start on both, surprisingly, Cam Akers and Matthew Stafford. Cam Akers, I'm going to say, because he needs a get-right game, just like James Robinson did off the Achilles injury. This is the game I do believe they're going to try to give Cam Akers more opportunity. It is a big, big risk if you're going to play him. But I got low risk potential on this man. I think he's going to have a very good contest against these Falcons, especially the poor defense that they do possess. I think they will be able to run the ball quite a bit. It could very much well be a 50-50 split between him and Henderson, Akers and Henderson, but I do like the play of Akers this week. High upside goes to Darrell Henderson if Cam Akers does fail you. So if you have Henderson, 10 points could be your floor this week as well. Allen Robinson, he disappointed all of us, just like me, because I got him on a couple teams as well. 1.7 points, but it was the Buffalo Bills. That game was out of hand. Matthew Stafford didn't know what was going on. The Rams looked completely unprepared for what was going on. And I do believe we're going to see a lot more targets go to Allen Robinson this week. Like I said, this is the contest that the Rams require to get all the ironing, fine-tuning out because they didn't play many of their starters in the preseason. Now they got to get on the same page. As for the other wide receiver and then Tyler Higbee, I don't know, man. I'm okay with Higbee, but can you really trust it? I mean, they got to find a way, and we don't really know how this offense is going to move. So for me, I'm okay to bench Higbee this week and look in another direction for the tight end spot. But Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, and potentially Cam Akers could have very big days for you for the LA Rams. The Las Vegas Raiders, and I mean, they're going up against the Arizona Cardinals. They looked very good in that contest last week. Derek Carr, okay, the point totals don't necessarily reflect what they were able to do. The point totals for Davante Adams definitely reflect because that chemistry, it's like they didn't miss a beat from Fresno State, man. I mean, that's just how they play. And I mean, 25 points for Davante Adams did come at a cost to everybody else on this offense. Hunter Renfrow, he was invisible. Darren Waller barely almost got to that boom rate at 10 points, did not make it. But for me, Derek Carr against the Cardinals defense that looked absolutely porous. Low risk for me. When we talk about Josh Jacobs, this is the big one. Brandon Bolden is, I have him as a question here, but he is likely doubtful with that hamstring injury, so it is going to be Zamir White likely coming in to spell out Josh Jacobs. I like Josh Jacobs a lot this week. I do have him at mid-level risk only because of trust value from the coaching staff, but I do believe Josh Jacobs eats this week, and I think you gotta start him everywhere you have him, especially if Bolden is going to be out. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have a very, very good day. Hunter Renfrow, we got to see a little bit more out of the pass game where Derek Carr is going to be spreading the ball before we can actually trust Hunter Renfrow again. It is only week one, so I do want to put him on my bench this week just to see how this offense is going to go. Darren Waller, you're starting him every single week regardless because Davante Adams is just going to pull coverage from his side, and those points should definitely creep up this week. Miami Dolphins taking travel to the Baltimore Ravens, and this offense was okay. I mean, what can I say? Tua Tagovailoa, high-risk play for me this week. It might be a little bit of a shock, but I like Baltimore's defense a lot, and it's in Baltimore. We'll see how Tua travels. We'll see how the blitz is going to come after him, see how it's going to rattle him, but he's got those thoroughbreds in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, both low-risk plays for me this week. Again, the only reason why I don't have them both as a stud play this week, the defense of the Baltimore Ravens, and the fact that we don't know who's going to pull away. 14 points even, 15.7 for Waddle because of that long touchdown run he did have after the catch. They will coexist, and this is what we were saying, what I was saying the entire offseason as well. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle will coexist in this offense on a weekly basis, but will we see the high-end 20-point numbers? That might be the problem that foils us in fantasy football this year with the Dolphins offense with Tua behind center. So you got to play it a little bit safe. Stud start is basically, you don't even have to think about it. Low risk play, you don't have to think about it, but hey, in the back of your mind, you're like, just temper the expectations on the top end points, man. High risk play for Raheem Mostert, Cedric Wilson, and Mike Gesicki. He is going to be the forgotten man in this offense, highly likely. Maybe a game out of 4, he is going to get you some fantasy points, but I really don't like his role now that they are predicated upon speed more than anything. Chase Edmonds did show me something that I was encouraged about. I want to see a lot more touches go to this man, but they will continue to split carries with multiple backs in this offense, in this new offensive scheme. Chase Edmonds is a decent back, but it's going to be a couple of weeks, and we might be saying, can we trust him in this backfield? So if you have the kahunas to play him this week, then I'll leave that one up to you. I'm kind of on the mid-level risk, almost putting him on my bench this week, man. The Minnesota Vikings on Monday Night Football taking travel to the Philadelphia Eagles. Both teams looked very, very sharp and good in their first week. Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, they did just what they had to do, man. They were consistent. They were enough. Who was the man of the hour? JJ, Justin Jefferson, man. This guy is a stud and unbelievable. I don't know what Green Bay was doing. They were letting him roam free all day long, but 34.9 points. This is why you drafted Justin Jefferson in the top 8 in the first round, because of stuff like this. You cannot go wrong. Dalvin Cook, I was a little disappointed. Wanted to see him get above that 15-point mark, did not, but it looked like this game was out of hand and in control, and they did not have to necessarily run the ball as hard as they would have wanted to because Justin Jefferson was wide open all over the field. Adam Thielen did disappoint a little bit, but again, the way the game flow went in Green Bay, against Green Bay, I should say, Adam Thielen wasn't necessarily needed either. So, I mean, him and KJ Osborne, Irv Smith, basically afterthoughts. It was Kirk Cousins, it was Dalvin Cook, and it was Justin Jefferson doing just enough to get the W and get out of there and go home. But up against the Eagles defense, who definitely did disappoint against the Detroit Lions last week, I think JJ is going to have another feast of a game. And the way DeAndre Swift ran up against this Philadelphia Eagles front seven, I got Dalvin Cook as a definite stud start this week, and I expect 20 points, man. It might be high, but I expect 20 points from Dalvin Cook this week. The New England Patriots, is there anything for Bills fans to, feel very warm and fuzzy about the New England Patriots looking really bad? I mean, okay, I'm sorry, Patriots fans, but we've suffered and endured so much pain with Tom Brady. It's nice to see you guys at the bottom of the floor right now. Mac Jones, he is dealing with a back injury. I think they called it spasms, but he is questionable on the injury report, is highly likely to play. But how do we trust this offense? There is a wrinkle of doubt, though, because Pittsburgh did lose TJ Watt to that pectoral injury. How is this offense going to run this week, man? Should they run the ball more? Abso-freaking-lutely. Run the ball with Damian Harris. Run the ball with Ramondre Stevenson. I don't know why they're trying to pass as much as they did. Tua wasn't necessarily lighting the stat sheet on fire. They had control of the game. They were having opportunities, and they just let them let Miami just run away with the game. Control the clock. This is your game plan, New England. Listen to me. Run the ball with both your thoroughbreds, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. You guys can control the clock. Get first downs. Mac Money, Jones. You were passing at Jacoby all over the field short, so continue to do that. Extend the run game in that respect as well. Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, completely fantasy afterthoughts for me right now. Hunter Henry, I was preaching you up and you failed me as well. Jonnu Smith did get some play also. But for me, I got mid-level risks on Dre, on Harris, And then Myers and Hunter Henry, I do believe against the Pittsburgh Steelers, we may see a little bit more check down appeal to Hunter Henry, potential red zone appeal. Now that we do have TJ Watt on the sideline watching this contest, Minkah Fitzpatrick is still that guy on the back end that's going to make life trouble for Mac Jones, but we could see the lack of pass rush without TJ Watt take its effect, and New England could move the ball just a little bit better. Definitely hard to trust this offense as we sit today, though. New Orleans Saints with Jameis Winston and his continuous humorous, funny interviews, man. I love this guy. He's just this happy-go-lucky dude. He's a low-risk play for me against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Going up against his former club, you know he's always down for that game, and he's going to show it once again. This offense picked it up in the second half. They struggled early on. They picked it up in the second half, and I loved what I saw. They were able to use Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is back, man. Slant boy, he is back. Jarvis Landry looked like shades of his former vintage self, 14.9 and 20.2 respectively for both those wide receivers. I got them as low-risk plays this week. Alvin Kamara may surprise some of y'all, but he is dealing with a rib injury, and that scares me a little bit. 6.1 did not cut it. Obviously, you got to probably play Alvin Kamara because you don't have enough depth at the running back position to justify benching Alvin Kamara for. But it's a high risk. So temper your expectations in that respect. I understand you got to play your studs, and Alvin Kamara is a stud. So if he is playing, you're going to play him. Just temper the expectations because he might give you another 7-8 points this week unless he finds the end zone. But I do like how this receiving core was moving. Olave, he does have some good upside. And why did we see a little bit less of Alvin Kamara as well? Taysom Hill, man. Taysom mother effing Hill. Again, okay, he's the tight end. Okay, he's listed as a tight end, and he's still taking snaps from behind center, and he's running the football. This is fabulous. I hope y'all listen to me on the waiver wire show where you go and grab Taysom Hill off the waiver wire, because if this is going to be the standard where he's getting at least 5 runs from the quarterback position, if we get any kind of PPR upside in the catching realm, Taysom Hill is going to be a very good tight end for you in fantasy football. I don't care if he's, Tim Tebow-esque. He's going to be very good for you. So good upside for him and Chris Olave. I liked what I saw from Olave. Just wanted to see the Jarvis Landry numbers come his way in week 1. Did not happen, but they have weapons on this field for Jameis Winston to utilize, and they will at least compete with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense that is very good. So we'll see how that contest goes, but that's where I got these guys listed as we sit today. The New York Football Giants going up against Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers. Danny Pennies, he looked okay, 17 points. Okay, he gives you the rushing upside. The PFF grades, graded him with no bad passes. I don't know what game they were watching because I saw some very bad passes coming from Danny Pennies. But again, Saquon Barkley, this needs to be the MO for the Giants this year. Run the ball a lot with Saquon, dump the ball off to Saquon, and then utilize your wide receiver short and then take your deep shots like you did Danny Jones. But Saquon is your guy. What did I tell y'all about Saquon, man? He is back. 30.4 points for Saquon Barkley. Shame on y'all that cussed me down and said I was a homer of believing my love for Saquon in fantasy football. Homer in the sense because I love Saquon Barkley. He's back, man. The injury, problems he did have, they were the unlucky situations that he did endure. Now he's on the trail, and I'm telling you, I just can't say enough. I'm stumbling for words because I'm so excited about Saquon Barkley. Kenny Golladay, high risk play. Do not even look in this man's direction right now. I can't stand it. I was supportive. I can no longer do it. Kadarius Toney's dealing with a hamstring injury while Wan'Dale Robinson, rookie, is out of this contest. So if Kadarius Toney can suit up in this contest, I do believe that mid risk could go to a low risk. It's just I have him at mid risk right now because we don't know if he's going to play. Richie James did come in relief, 8.6 points, became a favorite target of Daniel Jones, and I don't know. You can't really trust it right now in fantasy, but Sterling Shepard is making his way up the board. 14.1 points, mid-level risk play for me, and the tight end spot, whatever it is, what it is in New York right now until they figure that one out, but they look to be a lot more wide receiver heavy and utilizing Saquon to make life a little bit more comfortable for Daniel Jones, and again, if you're streaming quarterbacks, rushing upside does go towards Daniel Jones, no kidding about it, but fire up Saquon everywhere you got him because against Carolina's defense that gave up a lot of plays to the running back position, Saquon could have another glorious day. New York Jets, man, the other New York team going up against those Cleveland Browns. Joe Flacco, you are not playing him. I don't care what trouble you're in. Go find another spot. Breece Hall did disappoint me this past week. I believe he did fumble the ball, which is why his touches started to diminish. Michael Carter did look very good, so that did not help the cause for us Breece Hall supporters. I do got a mid-level risk for Breece Hall as we sit today, and I think he's going to see a lot more carries and a lot more touches this week, which is very encouraging, but Michael Carter is definitely going to be involved in this offense, so we could see 50-50 splits until one of these guys starts to break away, and we got to see more from Breece Hall. 100% to trust him, but I mean, at this point, if you did draft Breece as your number 2 running back, you're kind of stuck unless you have better options at the secondary position. Good upside for Michael Carter. He's going to give you the PPR play. He's going to give you the safety because he's already familiar with the offense. Michael Carter is very safe. When it comes to the receiving core, very hard to trust because Joe Flacco did spread the ball around a lot. 7.2, 7.4, and 10.7 to the wide receiver room. And I mean, Braxton Berrios is questionable with a heel. He may not play in this contest. So who do you trust in this game? You got to go back to the well and say Elijah Moore has to be the guy they're targeting this week over everybody. Then maybe Garrett Wilson, and then again, Corey Davis. That's kind of where I'm ranking him right now. It's got to be Moore, Wilson, then Davis for me. 1, 2, 3 in my trust level factor, but I got them all as a mid-level risk until some of them start separating from the pack, until Zach Wilson, the quarterback, comes back and starts to throw the ball to these wide receivers. Tyler Conklin did impress, man. 9.6, definitely in the streaming appeal for tight ends, especially this week as well against Cleveland. We'll see, man. Joe Flacco going up against Cleveland's pass rush and Myles Garrett, who did very well. JOK, man. If you guys don't know the name, go and look up JOK because he is all over the damn field and he's going to make life very, very difficult for these New York Jets, man. The Philadelphia Eagles going up against Minnesota on Monday Night Football, like I mentioned. Jalen Hurts. Low-risk play, man. What can you say? Every single week, man. 24.7 points, rushing upside. He was throwing the ball very well. I got to give Jalen Hurts credit. But you do got to say, it comes with a caveat. A.J. Brown is that guy this is why you trade for an A.J. Brown. He is an alpha wide receiver. He's going to make Jalen Hurts look that much better. Some of the throws were off target. A.J. Brown comes down with it. The one toss we did see from Jalen Hurts, that deep toss, that was all Jalen Hurts, and then a fabulous concentration by A.J. Brown. So these two understand each other very well. And what I did like, guess who's back on the radar and on the list? Miles Sanders, baby. Let's go. Because you know what? I've been a big fan of you as well. I don't know, Penn State running backs, I just got a soft spot for y'all. I don't know what it is, man, but low risk now. He is back on the radar. 17.5 points for Kenny Gainwell, 10.2, and Boston Scott even snuck in there with 7 points. So the Eagles' MO is definitely running the ball again this year. They're trusting the backs. As long as Miles Sanders can stay healthy, he is a very good running back. We can trust Miles. 17.5 will not be the standard. Don't get that twisted, but at least we have a good sample of what this offense is going to look like, and it came at a cost to other players like Devontae Smith and Zach Pascal. So, I mean, you can't really trust the secondary pieces because they're going to be so run heavy. It's going to be A.J. Brown, and then it's going to be sprinkled to everyone else. Dallas Goedert got his share as well. So, I mean, you're going to trust the run game a lot in Philadelphia this season, especially against a defense that can't stop it. Minnesota had their problems with Green Bay's run game last week, so I definitely fully expect, low risk, and low risk for Brown, Sanders, and Goddard this week because I think this offense is good enough to move the ball now with an A.J. Brown because they're very, multi-dimensional now. So Minnesota, they will have their hands full as well in this contest. The Pittsburgh Steelers, Mitchell Trubisky, he is, I don't know, man, not good. I mean, what else can I say about Mitchy Biscuits? He looked okay. He was, moving the ball a little bit. We did see Najee Harris obviously go down with that injury again with the foot or the ankle this time. He is not on the injury report, so you can fire up Najee Harris this week. Low-risk play against New England. Mitchell Trubisky, this is the game that I want to see you play very well at because it is versus New England, because you are at home, because it is New England, man. So I want to maximize all the potential that you do have. Pat Freiermuth, the Muth, is going to be the guy I think that could be the safety blanket, like I was saying, for Mitchell Trubisky. Rushing upside is there for Trubisky as well, but you got to lean on Najee Harris a little bit. Deontay did find his way back into my good graces with a hell of a catch on that sideline with the one-handed toe tap. He is an absolute athletic freak. But again, the secondary options with a lesser quarterback, with a subpar quarterback in Chase Claypool and George Pickens, going to be very hard to trust until this offense starts moving in the right direction. So we got to definitely always keep our eye on that. But when it comes to the safety net, Pat Freiermuth is that guy you're going to be looking at every single week. And if you got him lower in your drafts, he's going to be an absolute steal for you. If he finds himself the end zone, those 10 points are going to be turned into 16 in no time because that's just how it is with Pat Freiermuth. We do got options in Pittsburgh again. against New England. It is a very good matchup, but definitely temper some of the expectations on these individuals. Seattle Seahawks, we got next. They absolutely shocked the world, shocked me, beat up on those Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson, but you knew and you saw the interviews after. Pete Carroll desperately wanted that game. He had him fired up. Could we see a letdown this week from Seattle? Absolutely. 17 points from Geno Smith is not going to be the standard. Geno Smith will make mistakes. He was very safe and careful with the ball. Look at DK Metcalf, 5.1. Tyler Lockett, 4.3. It was safe throws, man. Denver, I don't know what they were doing on the defensive side. They were confused. Geno Smith is not likely going to give you the, 18 plus per week. But we talk about this running back room. Rashad Penny, 7.7, did not look very impressive. Kenneth Walker III is coming back to play, likely this week off the sports hernia, or hernia, however they want to call it. He is recovered, apparently, and enough to play, so I am going to be very excited to see how they morph this offense to be a little bit more run-heavy this week. I do, you got to caution, even looking in Kenneth Walker's direction, sleeper upside, but it could have definitely been a high risk. But I likely am not playing Kenneth Walker this week. Put him on your bench. Wait and see approach. Let's see what he does this week, how good he looks. Rashad Penny, I mean, against the San Francisco 49ers defense that did struggle against the Bears, it's a tough play for me this week. Mid-level risk for Rashad Penny, but I mean, I get it. If you drafted him, you're likely going to try to play him because of depth issues on your roster. The positives for DK Metcalf, I mean, he got targeted a lot, okay? So that's a positive. But 5.1 points is not good unless he's finding the end zone. We did see a lot of tight end usage. Will Disley found his way back into fantasy viability. 11.8 points. Noah Fant was basically invisible. Seattle's just going to be very tough to trust this year. So you're going to go for matchup play, obviously, over anything else. San Francisco still has a good defense, and they are back at home and in San Fran. You got to think the defense is going to be ready to play and give Geno a run for his money. So I definitely would caution a lot of the plays you do have in Seattle, temper those expectations. San Francisco, on the other hand, they did not look good. They looked like a dump fire. Trey Lance, after the game, decided to go to a strip club because he needed to blow off some steam after losing to the Bears. But, I mean, you're at Seattle, or is the game in Seattle? Sorry, I might have made that mistake. It's in Seattle, I don't know. Check the schedule. I don't know. I messed that up on my graphics here at Seattle or at San Francisco. But Trey Lance, to me, the growing pains. We knew this was going to come. You redshirted him basically all last year. You had to fully expect that this was going to happen. Hence why we saw Kyle Shanahan hedge his bets with Jimmy Garoppolo, keeping him on the roster. I don't like it. If you're going to go with it, go with Trey Lance all day long. Let him work out his inadequacy on the field. Let him get his snaps and let him find his groove. He's a mid-level risk for me right now. Yes, rushing upside, I'm preaching it every single time. You're always going to go for rushing upside quarterbacks in fantasy football because they give you all that fantasy production. Trey Lance just looked really bad. And, I mean, there's nothing else I can really say about it. They lost themselves some Eli Mitchell. He's out with a knee, likely 2 months. So now Jeff Wilson and Ty Davis-Price are likely going to be your running backs until they, sign one off the free agent market, which they are shopping. Tevin Coleman, Devontae Freeman are in the mix as well to come back. But this week, it's Jeff Wilson time. And if you picked him up off the waiver, I do believe you can start him this week against the Seattle Seahawks because he is a good running back and likely will find the end zone. But we'll see. Maybe we see a little too much Debo because he's going to take away a little Jeff Wilson. But I think Wilson will take a lot of goal line work if they can get on that goal line. So that's why I got him as a low risk, TD dependent type of running back this week. Debo's your stud start week in, week out. You're not going to put him on your bench. Brandon Ayuk, I want to see you show up in this contest. I preached you a lot. 5.7 was not good. Yes, it was sloppy weather conditions, so we'll see how this goes. But I think Ayuk needs to be implemented a lot more into this offense. Again, they were practicing all the chemistry building in the preseason, looked very good. Ayuk, to me, is a low risk this week. If he does not perform, he is going to go down my radar, but I am definitely taking one more shot in week 2 that Brandon Ayuk is going to perform. Juwan Jennings, he looks good, man. He looks very comfortable in his role that he does have, so I mean, that's maybe a flash in the pan, but I got to see more from Ayuk, and I think he's going to take away those touches. George Kittle is a high risk this week. If he plays, he's likely going to play is what I'm hearing right now. It's a questionable on the groin. If he plays, what do I say, man? You got to start him? I think you have to, right? Because he is the guy that you absolute killer on the field. But again, temper the expectations. What if he goes out 2 plays, he re-hurts his groin, and he's out for the rest of the game? Then you're going to be disappointed. These are the types of situations that if he blows up and he's on your bench, everyone comes back crucifying you, saying you told me to bench George Kittle. I'm not telling you to bench George Kittle. I'm saying that's the option you have, because if he does aggravate his injury, you're going to be out with points again. But if he is playing and he is healthy, it's George Kittle. He's going to put you up massive points. So I'm going to leave that one to y'all. If I'm me and it's George Kittle, I'm going to probably play the cautious approach. If he's playing, I'm going to start him because that's where we got him. He's a stud. You got to play him, and you're going to hope for the best. If you lose this week because you played him, that's just the breaks of fantasy football. Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers going up against the New Orleans Saints. Tom Brady, he looked, average in this past contest, but they didn't necessarily have to look great. Leonard Fournette ran the ball very well. I mean, Mike Evans stole the show with that great touchdown, and look who's back, Julio Jones, my guy, man. Low-risk play for him this week. He is coming off the knee, but again, this could be rest in how they're handling his snaps in practice because Julio did look very good. He took a lot of big shots on the field, though, so that's why he was on the injury report this week. We do got massive injury report. Godwin out. Julio Jones questionable with a knee. Russell Gage questionable with a hamstring. Leonard Fournette questionable with a hamstring. I have all indications right now that I'm hearing that all these individuals will play outside of Chris Godwin. He has already been ruled out. So now you got to talk about a little Leonard Fournette. If this is just, hearsay to get them thinking that Fournette's not going to run the ball a lot, he's still going to run the ball if he's on the field. Rachaad White is this guy that you got to look out for if Fournette is injured, because he is a very talented running back, possesses a lot of similar traits, and he will be utilized if Fournette misses time at all. Mike Evans, obviously, man, the guy, all he does is catch touchdowns in 1,000-yard seasons. Nothing else I can say about that guy. He's the most underrated superstar in the NFL I think I have ever seen in my entire life. Put some respect behind Mike Evans' name, damn it. It's about damn time, man. Julio Jones, I'm trusting this week again against New Orleans. I think he knows New Orleans very well, and I mean, he looks very good in the process. Gage, on the other hand, I got him at high risk. Cameron Brate, high risk as well, so I'm probably looking in other directions for those individuals. Tom Brady, obviously low risk. It's Tom Brady. He's going to find his wide receivers and is usually a stud start. I just don't like the 11 points he put up for you last week, man. Tennessee Titans going up against our Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. Ryan Tannehill, serviceable quarterback week in, week out, streaming quarterback likely on your waiver wire, gives you 20 points last week. And they utilize this offense a lot differently than I had seen in previous years, okay? They're dumping off the ball to the secondary back in Hilliard, and they basically faded Derrick Henry in this contest. I don't know, was it a mistake because they ended up losing? So maybe we see a little bit of a difference of approach. Buffalo could be without Ed Oliver and Settle, so you're going to have gaps and holes in that middle of the defensive line if that does happen. If Ed Oliver is not playing, Derrick Henry could have a very big day against this Bills defense yet again. He apparently loves playing the Buffalo Bills. We will see, because Hilliard is on the injury report. So is Kyle Phillips. Hilliard looked very good in his role that they did, create, I want to say, because we've never seen a secondary running back have that much production in this offense since King Henry has basically been here. 20 points, I put him down as a mid-level risk if he does suit up in this contest, because Tannehill will be looking for him again in this contest. Robert Woods comes back to Buffalo. He did not impress in his first game back from his ACL injury. And okay, we got to see a little bit more. That's why I got him at a mid-level risk. Didn't want to go so far to say high risk. He's just in that middle range. Can we trust him? We'll see. Is it flex appeal? Likely. But against the Buffalo Bills defense, that looks very good. I would not shame you whatsoever if you put Robert Woods on your bench. Same goes for Treylon Burks and Kyle Phillips. Phillips looked very good. He's morphing to that Wes Welker role that we love for these slot wide receivers. He's a very good talent. Treylon Burks, he did enough for me. Didn't overly impress. So until one of these guys, pulls away from the pack, then we can start talking him up. Austin Hooper, he was dreadful last week, but again, this is what they utilize him for, is his supreme blocking ability. Austin Hooper is definitely going to continue to be that guy at a high risk, high reward potential play action pass on the goal line TD upside. That's all you get for Austin Hooper this year. Finishing it off with the Washington Commanders, the Commies. They look great. And I mean, what can you say? I was preaching this too. Why does nobody listen to me? Carson Wentz is not a bad quarterback. Everyone was cussing the man. What do you have, 4 TDs? He's got a receiving core, man. He's got an offense to deal with. He has ballers on this team. Carson Wentz is not a bad quarterback. He's inconsistent at times. He's not clutch at times. He's a good quarterback overall. 29 points for your fantasy team because of guys like Scary Terry, Jahan Dotson, and now Curtis Samuel back healthy. All these guys hit last week. 12.8, 16.5, 15.2. You cannot hate that level of production. Jahan Dotson is a beautiful talent at the wide receiver position, and Terry McLaurin, he's getting the heavy coverage. Now you're going Dotson, you're going Samuel, you're mixing matching. depending on who's open, and you're running the ball with Antonio Gibson. He even hits on this past week. So now because Robinson, the rookie, the running back, he did get shot, now the default position came back to Antonio Gibson, and he's proven people that he still is a very good running back, and the coaching staff just hates him. So, I mean, for me right now, Carson Wentz, low risk. Antonio Gibson, definitely a low risk against the Detroit Lions, who were gashed on the ground as well. J.D. McKissic, I could have put him at a high because they have other wide receiver options. I think we can almost start fading J.D. McKissic at this point. When it comes to Terry Dotson and Samuel, I'm firing up all these guys this week if you have them. Obviously not together, but I mean, if you have them on your roster, fire them up. Logan Thomas is still a guy that I want to keep my eye on. 6 points is not bad in his return from his ACL, but look at this offense with Carson Wentz. They have weapons to deal with. It may be a little bit inconsistent being, top heavy every single week, but you're going to see consistent levels in that mid 12 to 16 point range for these pass catchers. So definitely buckle up, Washington. You got yourself an offense. So there you have it. That is your start sit for week number 2. Hopefully all that information helps you guys manage your rosters that much better. But nevertheless, man, grab your coffee, grab your beer, sit back and relax and watch some football this week. Good luck to everybody. But nevertheless, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, jump in those comments, give me the start sit questions if you have them, and I'll definitely answer them. But we'll see you next time. I am out.